वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृदयन्तस्थो हि भद्राणि विदुनोति सुरसताम्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Reading from Canto 4, Chapter 29, Text 3 and 4. Text 3. Yo aviജ്ñārtastasya purushasya sakeshwarah yanna vijñāyate pumbir nama virva kriyagune. Synonyms: Ya, he, who. Avijñāta, unknown. Ahrita, described. Tasya, of him. Purushasya, of the living entity. Saka, the eternal friend. Ishvaraha, the master. Yat, because. Na, never. Vijñāyate, is understood. Humbir, by the living entities. Namabir, by the names. Va, or Kriyagune, by activities or qualities. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: the person I have described as unknown is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master and eternal friend of the living entity. Since the living entities cannot realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead by material names, activities, or qualities, he remains everlastingly unknown to the conditioned soul. Purport: because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unknown to the conditioned soul, he is sometimes described in Vedic literature as Nirakar, Avijñāta, or Avan Manasagochara. Actually, it is a fact that the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be perceived by material senses as far as his form, name, quality, pastimes, or paraphernalia are concerned. However, when one is spiritually advanced, one can understand the name, form, quality, pastimes, and paraphernalia of the Supreme Lord. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 18:55. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha. One can understand in truth the Supreme Personality of Godhead only when one is engaged in devotional service. Ordinary persons engaged in pious and impious activities cannot understand the form, name, and activities of the Lord. The devotee, however, can know the personality of Godhead in many respects. He can understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that his address is Golok Vrindavanam, and that his activities are all spiritual. Because the Lord's form and activities cannot be understood by materialistic people, he is described by the Shastras as Nirakar, that is, one whose form cannot be ascertained by materialistic person. This does not mean that Supreme Personality of Godhead has no form. It means that it is not understood by the karmis or fruitive actors. His form is described in Brahma Samhita as Satchidananda Vigraha. Padma Purana is Brahma Samhita as confirmed in Padma Purana. Ata Sri Krishna Namadi Na Bhavet Grahyam Indriyai. Sevonmukhe jivadav swayameva spuratyadaha. No one can understand Krishna as he is by utilizing blunt material senses. Uh, However, the Lord reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them because of their transcendental loving service rendered to him. Since the name, form, qualities, and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, cannot be understood by the material senses, he is also called Adokshaja, meaning beyond sense perception. When the senses are purified by devotional activity and the devotee understands everything about the Lord by Lord's grace. In this verse, the words Pumbir Namabiruva Kriya Gune are especially significant because God, Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, has many names, activities, and qualities, although none of them are material. Despite the fact that all these names, activities, and pastimes are mentioned in the Shastras and understood by the devotees, the karmis, the fruitive laborers, cannot understand them, nor can the jnanis, mental speculators, understand them. Although there are thousands of names of Lord Vishnu, the karmis and jnanis intermingle the names of the Supreme Godhead with the names of the demigods and human beings. Because they cannot understand the actual name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they take for granted that any name can be accepted. They believe that since the absolute truth is impersonal, they can call him by any name. Otherwise, they maintain he has no name. This is not a fact. Here it is clearly stated Nama Birva Kriya Gune. The Lord has specific names such as Rama, Krishna, Govinda, Narayana, Vishnu, Adokshaja. There are indeed many names, but the conditioned soul cannot understand them. Text 4. Yada jigrishan purushaha kasnena prakritir gunam navadvaram dvihastangri tatra manutha sadhu iti. Synonyms: Yada, when, jigrikshan, desiring to enjoy, Purusha, the living entity, Kashnena, in total, for Prakriti, of material nature, Gunan, the modes, Navadwaram, having 9 gates, Dvi, 2, Hasta, hands, Angri, legs, Tatra, there, Amanutha, he thought, Sadhu, very good, it, iti, thus. Translation: when the living entity wants to enjoy the modes of material nature, in their totality, he prefers, out of many bodily forms, to accept that body which has 9 gates, 2 hands, and 2 legs. Thus, he prefers to become a human being or a demigod. Purport. This is a very nice explanation how the spiritual being, the part and parcel of Krishna, God, accepts material body by virtue of his own desires, accepting 2 hands, 2 legs, and so on. The living entity fully enjoys the modes of material nature. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.27, Icha dvesha samuttena dvanda mohena bharata sarvabhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. O sign of Bharata, Arjuna, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. Originally, the living entity is spiritual being, but when he actually desires to enjoy this material world, he comes down. From this verse, we can understand that the living entity first accepts a body that is a human in form, but gradually, due to his degraded activities, he falls into lower forms of life, into the animal, plant, aquatic forms. By the gradual process of evolution, the living entity again attains the body of a human being and is given another chance to get out of the process of transmigration. If he again misses his chance in the human form to understand his position, he is again placed in the cycle of birth and death in various types of bodies. The desire of living entity to come into material world is not very difficult to understand. Although one may be born in a family of Aryans where there are restrictions against meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit sex, still one may want to enjoy these forbidden things. There is always someone who wants to go to the prostitute for illicit sex or a hotel to eat meat or and drink wine. There is always someone who wants to gamble at nightclubs or enjoy so-called sports. All these propensities are already within the hearts of the living entity. But living entities stop to enjoy these abominable activities and consequently fall down to degraded platform. The more one desires a degraded life within his heart, the more he falls down to occupy different forms of abominable existence. This is the process of transmigration and evolution. A particular type of animal may have a strong tendency to enjoy one kind of sense enjoyment, but in the human form, one can enjoy all the senses. The human form has the facility to utilize all the senses for gratification. Unless one is properly trained, he becomes a victim of the modes of material nature as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 327. Prakrite kriyamānāni gune karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself the doer of the activities that are in actuality carried out by nature. As soon as one desires to enjoy his senses, he puts himself under the control of material energy and automatically or mechanically is placed into cycle of birth and death in various life forms. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I seek the blessings of all assembled Vaishnavas. Please forgive me any misinterpretation. So the Lord's one of the names of Lord is Adokshaja. That means he is beyond our sense perception. Lord is present everywhere. A pure devotee can see the Lord. Uh, in Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mahi pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachamena pranashyati. One who sees me everywhere and everything in me, for such a person I am not lost, nor that person is lost to me. So pure devotee sees the Lord in all living beings, in all forms of life. But ordinary people, majority of the people, they cannot see the Lord. In the prayers of Kunti, Queen Kunti, she prays, Namasya Purusham Thwadyam Ishwaram Prakrite Param Alaksham sarvabhutanam antarbahir avasthitam. O Lord, he's praying to Lord Krishna. O Lord, you are present. Antarbahir, you are within and you are without. But at the same time, alakshasi sarvabhutanam. You are invisible to all. And Kunti continues, Maya javanika channam ajna dokshajama vyayam nalakshasi mudadrisha nato natyadaroyata. A nata means actor is playing a role on a stage. He may be playing the role of a king dressed up in the costume of a king sitting on a throne. So the audience see only the king seated on a throne, acting like a king. They do not see the person inside that costume. Similarly, we are seeing different dresses. This body is a dress for the soul. So we see only different dresses. One is a big businessman, one is a political leader, one is a poor man, one is a dog or a cat. So many different dresses only we see. We don't see beyond this dress that within all living being, the spirit soul and the Paramatma is seated. Paramatma, super soul, is seated in all living beings. We do not see it. So that only when our eyes anointed with the love of Godhead, then only we can see the Lord present everywhere. In Brahma Samhita, it is said, Premanjanaschurita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achintya gunaswarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajam. When our eyes are anointed with the love of Godhead, then we can see the Shama Sundara. Lord is seated in the heart of all living beings. Otherwise, we cannot see. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, um, Dekiya na deke yata bhakteragana, uluke na deke yana surya rakirana. Meaning, abhakta, the non-devotees, they see the Lord. They see the form of the Lord in the temple in the deity form, but they do not see it. They see a nice idol made of marble, dressed up very nicely with all the ornaments. They only see that. Dekhi or na dekhi. Even after seeing, they do not see because their spiritual eyes are closed. And it says, Uluke na dekhe, like the owl is sitting all day in a tree with his eyes closed. And when the night begins, it says, Where is the sunlight? I don't see sun. So, in this way, non devotees, even after seeing, they do not see it. So, that eyes, spiritual eyes, can only be opened by the mercy of Sadhu and Guru. Sadhu, Kripa, without that, one cannot see the Lord. That's why in the Guru Vandana every day morning in the temple, we pray. um, चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्म जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो. He opened my darkened eyes and fills with transcendental uh, love or transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord birth after birth. That is the prayer for Guru Vandana. So he opens the darkened eyes, a spiritual master, a sadhu guru. Same way in another verse that Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guru Nam. So my eyes are blinded by ignorance, and spiritual master opens with the torchlight of knowledge. Then we can see. So therefore, one must approach a spiritual master, take shelter of his lotus feet, render loving service, and inquire or hear from him submissively in a humble mode, and inquire from him in very humble mode. Then the spiritual master who has seen this truth, he will impart this transcendental vision. Then only a disciple will see and will make progress in devotional service. And he becomes eligible to go back home, back to God.